With Agatha's blessing, Nico began to put his plan into motion. He traveled to nearby villages, speaking to the people about Aaron's true identity. At first, they were skeptical. They couldn't believe that a servant could be the lost prince. But Nico spoke passionately, telling them of the injustice that had been done and urging them to stand up for what was right. He spoke to the workers at the palace too. They had always respected Nico for his honesty and kindness, and many of them believed that Lord Gavan was not fit to rule. Slowly, Nico gathered a small but loyal group of supporters. Nico's plan was simple. They would organize a peaceful protest at the palace gates, demanding that Lord Gavin step down and allow Aaron to take the throne. It was a bold move, but it was the only way to make the people's voices heard. As the day of the protest drew near, Nico and his supporters worked in secret. They made signs, wrote speeches, and prepared food to share with the crowds. Nico knew it would be a challenge to get the message across, but he had no choice. The kingdom had to know the truth. The morning of the protest arrived, and Nico felt a mixture of excitement and fear. The people had gathered outside the palace gates, just as they had planned. They stood in silence, holding their signs high, demanding justice. At first, the guards were confused. They had never seen such a crowd before, especially not one that wasn't violent or disorderly. But as the hours passed, the crowd grew larger. Soon, there were hundreds of people, standing together in unity, all calling for Aaron to be crowned king. Lord Gavin, of course, was furious. He ordered the guards to disperse the crowd, but they could do little to stop the growing movement. The people had found their voice. As the protest continued, Aaron stood in a high tower, looking down at the people below. He had never seen so many people rallying for him, for his cause. For the first time, he felt a sense of hope. "I didn't know it would be like this," Aaron whispered to Nico, who stood beside him. "The people, they really care." "They do," Nico said with a smile. "They know you're the true king, and they want to see the kingdom flourish under your rule." The protest outside the palace gates grew louder with each passing hour. Nico stood at the front, his heart beating in rhythm with the voices of the people chanting in unison. They had gathered to demand justice, to demand that Aaron, the true heir, take his rightful place as king. It was a peaceful protest, but the power of the people's collective will was undeniable. Inside the palace, Lord Gavin paced back and forth in his grand chambers, his face twisted with anger and fear. He had never expected this. How had Nico managed to rally so many people? The guards had tried to control the crowd, but they couldn't hold back the swelling tide of people who had come to support Aaron. Lord Gavin's grip on the throne was slipping. "I cannot allow this," Lord Gavin muttered to himself, his voice shaking with fury. "I cannot let them take what's mine." But even as he spoke, he knew it was only a matter of time before the truth would be revealed to everyone. Aaron was the rightful heir, and the people knew it. They could feel it in their hearts. Aaron stood beside Nico, looking out over the crowd. For the first time in his life, he felt a strange mixture of fear and hope. The faces of the people below were filled with determination, their voices rising in unison, calling for his return as king. "It's time," Nico said quietly, placing a hand on Aaron's shoulder. "The people are here, Aaron. They're ready to see you take your rightful place." Aaron nodded, his hands trembling. He had spent so many years hidden away, living as a servant, that the idea of standing before the people as their king felt surreal. But Nico's support gave him the strength to push through his doubts. Together, they walked to the balcony overlooking the palace gates. The moment the people saw Aaron, a wave of cheers erupted from the crowd. They had known for a long time that he was the true prince, and now they had come to see him reclaim what was rightfully his. Lord Gavin, watching from a distance, could no longer deny the truth. He had tried to keep Aaron hidden, but now the people had seen him. It was only a matter of time before they forced him to step down. The day of Aaron's coronation arrived. The palace, once a symbol of Lord Gavin's rule, was now a place of new beginnings, of hope and promise. The people had spoken, and Aaron was finally going to take his rightful place on the throne. Nico stood beside Aaron as they made their way to the grand hall. It was a beautiful ceremony, with flowers lining the path, and the sound of the people cheering outside the walls. For the first time, the palace felt alive with the energy of the people's hope. Aaron looked out at the crowd. His heart swelled with emotion. After all these years of hiding in the shadows, he was finally free. The people loved him, and they believed in him. As Aaron knelt before the high priest, who was about to crown him, he turned to Nico. "I couldn't have done this without you, Nico. You believed in me when no one else did." Nico smiled, his eyes filled with pride. "You're the true king, Aaron. This is your moment. I'm just glad to be here with you." The high priest placed the crown upon Aaron's head, and the hall erupted in applause. Aaron stood, his eyes shining with gratitude. He was no longer the hidden servant of the palace. He was King Arianos, the rightful ruler of the kingdom. "I promise you," Aaron said to the people, his voice strong and clear, "I will rule with justice, with kindness, and with the love of my people in my heart. Together, we will rebuild this kingdom." The people cheered, their faith in their new king shining brightly. For the first time in many years, the kingdom felt alive with hope. Under King Aaron's rule, the kingdom flourished. The people were no longer oppressed by Lord Gavin's cruel reign, and life began to improve for everyone. The fields became more fertile, trade routes were reopened, and the streets were filled with laughter and music. Nico remained by Aaron's side as his trusted advisor. Though Nico had always been a humble baker, his wisdom and kindness were invaluable to the young king. The two of them worked together to ensure that the kingdom was ruled with fairness and compassion. In honor of his roots, Aaron decided to build a bakery within the palace. Nico was given full control over it, and it became a symbol of the king's commitment to his people. It wasn't just a bakery. It was a place where everyone, from the lowest servant to the highest noble, could gather and share in the simple joys of life. The aroma of fresh bread wafted through the halls of the palace, reminding everyone of the strength of kindness and community. Aaron made sure that the kingdom's laws were fair to all, and he worked tirelessly to ensure that every voice was heard. He and Nico developed a deep friendship, one built on trust, loyalty, and a shared vision for the future. The kingdom, once ruled by a cruel and selfish man, was now a place of peace and prosperity. And at the heart of it all, the small bakery became a beacon of warmth and comfort for the people. Years passed, and under King Aaron's rule, the kingdom continued to grow. The people's lives improved, and they flourished under the new king's leadership. Nico's bakery became more than just a place to buy bread. It became a gathering place where stories were shared, where people found solace in each other's company, and where the bonds of community were strengthened. Aaron, though still young, had become a wise and just king. He never forgot the support of the people who had rallied behind him, and the friendship of the humble baker who had believed in him when no one else did. Together, Nico and Aaron had shown the world that kindness, loyalty, and courage could overcome even the darkest of times. They had proven that a kingdom could be built on love, not fear, and that true power came from the people, not from the throne. As the sun set over the golden fields, Aaron stood beside Nico, looking out at the peaceful kingdom they had rebuilt together. "We did it," Aaron said, a smile on his face. Nico nodded, his heart full. "Yes, we did." And in that moment, they both knew that the future of the kingdom was brighter than ever before.